Welcome back to Designsmith. Well, I had my first concert of the year a few nights ago, and I went to see the shoegaze band Glixen. Even though they were the opening act, I was there specifically to see that band. They put on a great show, and I got to meet them, and I got a couple of goodies. And the energy of the show was really awesome, and I knew I was going to create a poster for this show. So that's what we're going to do today in Illustrator. Before we get started, please consider subscribing to support the channel. Alright, so typically I would go with like an 18 by 24 poster or something like that. But since this is a smaller band and they were the opening act, I think something a little more homemade is going to work better for this poster. I'm kind of envisioning more of a flyer than a poster. So the size that I have here is 8.5 by 11, and this size is a lot more conducive to printing them off at home and hanging them up around town. So that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for. The first thing I'm going to do is just make a space where I know the image is going to go. And normally I would measure the exact margins and everything, but I don't really want to do that for this particular flyer. I want it to be not perfect and just kind of slightly off center maybe. So what we'll do is we'll go center right here and just kind of move it over a little bit. And to my knowledge, I haven't actually used this font BD Caramel right here, so I want to do this. And since I was there to see this band in particular, I'm only going to be featuring them on the flyer. So let's just kind of move this down a little bit. I want to give it that nice printed at home quality, so I'm not going to worry at all about doing any kind of text kerning or anything like that. So we'll make this a little bit larger, and I actually really like the fact that this is not centered, and I also don't want to align it to the right, so we're just going to kind of move it over here just a little bit, off center, but not aligned to the right. And then we'll just kind of scale this down right here, and I'll do some like little rotations with the text. I like that right there, and then we'll just kind of bring this down here, and then we'll put the date and make it significantly smaller, probably about that size, and we'll just kind of stick it right there. I'm not going to worry about any kind of exact placement or anything like that. All right, so this is the layout that we're going to be doing. So I'm going to copy all of these elements, and we're going to paste them into Photoshop as smart objects. Now I'm going to go back to Illustrator and just grab the large portions of text, copy this in and make sure that we align this right here. Now I'm just going to grab the rectangle and we'll paste that. And now the small text. And now we can delete this first layer because everything is placed. So I'm just going to name these layers large text, rectangle, and small text. Okay, so I want an image that I can put right in here. And we're going to do like a threshold effect on this image. All right, so I found this image right here from their Facebook page. So we're going to do a couple of things here. First thing I'm going to do is select this image and this rectangle, hold down Option or Alt, and go in between those layers. And we're just going to mask that image to that rectangle. Now I'm just going to scale this up right here, get them to fill in the frame, and we'll just move it kind of down right here. All right, so with this image layer selected, we're going to go down here and create a new adjustment layer, and we're going to click on threshold. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring this to about right here. That way we can clearly see everyone's face. All right, so let's zoom in really quickly. What we're going to do is we're going to darken some of the areas that are not showing up because of the threshold, but we don't want to change the threshold amount any further because we want to just make some manual adjustments here. And now what we're going to do is go over here to the dodge tool and just click and hold that down until we get to the burn tool. And I've got my exposure set to 50% with my range being the midtones. And we're just going to softly color over this area right here until we start to see some of those shapes coming in for her nose. And we'll do the same thing over here on Sonia's nose. And right here, I'm just going to make my brush a little bit smaller, and we'll just kind of bring in some of her eyes and her lips. We're just manually adjusting the lighting in these areas so that the threshold will be able to pick it up a lot easier. And just kind of soft brushes kind of around there. And then we'll do the same thing over here with his nose. And the rest of the image is looking good. I think I'll just maybe do like 1 or 2 passes right here. And you can swap it back to the dodge tool if there's anything a little bit too saturated in one area, like right here. All right, that's looking good. And now what I'm going to do is grab a couple of overlays for this. The first one I'm going to drop on top of this is going to be a photocopy texture. And I'll just resize it to my canvas size here. Now I'm going to invert the colors, and I will just play with blending modes here. There we go. I decided to go with difference and then just invert it back again. And this is giving a nice inconsistent flow with this ink right here. So it's a little bit lighter at the top and darker at the bottom. And now we're going to drop this one in here, and this is going to give it a folded paper look. And then again, we'll just kind of play with the blending modes here and see what we can come up with. Okay, difference is looking good. I think what I might do is go in here and just kind of brighten it up just a little bit. And we're going to put curves on top of this one. And what we want to do is we want to mask it to just the layer below. So let's select these two and hold down Option or Alt until we see that little arrow. And now whatever changes we make to this, it's only going to apply to the paper below. And now I'm going to click on the rectangle layer and we're going to go up here to Filter and Distort and Displace. And now what I want to do is displace these pixels by about 5 on horizontal and vertical scale. I hit OK. And I have my own displacement filter that I use. It's called Ink Smears. So we'll apply it to there. And as you can see, it just kind of gives it a nice rough edging. This is what it was like before, nice and clean lines. So we now go to something like this. And I think I'll see what it looks like if we apply it to the other text as well. All right, that's looking really cool. It's got a really nice ink vibe to it. And we'll do the same thing for the small text. Go to Filter, Displace. This we might do a little bit less, maybe 3 pixels. And that's perfect right there. See how it's just cutting into that text just a little bit? All right, that's looking really cool. And now let's go up here to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And we'll just give this like a slight blur right here. So just 1 pixel will do it. And now it's really looking like it's part of the paper rather than just clean text sitting on top. And we'll do the same thing with the large text. Although we'll have to raise it up just a little bit more, maybe 2 or 3 should do that. Looking good. And now we'll do a 2 pixel Gaussian blur on the image. All right, so here it is, our Glixen the In Nashville poster. This was an awesome show, and if you're a fan of Shoegaze, I definitely recommend checking this band out. I hope I taught you something in Photoshop or Illustrator today. Otherwise, I'm just really glad you watched the video. If you wouldn't mind, please consider subscribing to support the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.